I think overall, I would say the Western Conference is stronger. They've definitely been beating up on each other. I think injuries and Milwaukee kind of unable to really find their rhythm in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, kind of to me gave the nudge to the Western Conference. But I would agree. I feel like Boston is playing the best basketball right now in the league. Um, Denver and the Clippers, I feel like, are the two strongest in the West. Although the Clippers, are on a little skid right now. I think they've lost 6 out of their last 11 or something like that. But um, I still feel like, whenever they're all bought in and healthy, they're going to be a monster. And then, to win the ring, you got to go through the champ. So you still can't forget about Denver as well. I think so. I think they are. I mean, I love what OKC and Minnesota are doing right now. I think they're next in line. I think this playoffs for both these teams will serve them well in the long haul. I could see one of them maybe sliding to the second round, and I say that with all due respect. But I really feel like roads run through Denver, and I feel like the two teams, it should hopefully line up to where it'll be the Clippers and Denver in the Western Finals. I mean, you can give him the MVP every year and the best player in the league every year, but I feel like you can also do that for a few other guys. I feel like Jason Tatum is kind of being overlooked. I feel like he should definitely be in that conversation. SGA, young boy, someone who Doc Rivers was very hesitant to give up. When they got Kawhi Leonard, he thought that Kawhi and SGA could have really built, but Kawhi insisted on getting Paul. Not a bad move either. Obviously, Paul's a great player, but yeah, I think Shea should definitely be in that conversation as well. But what Jokic does in and night out factor, all the facets he covers for his team, steadily improving on the defensive end. Again, he's one of the two or three, four guys that can be named best player and MVP every year. I see them eventually. Obviously, the team you mentioned, the team I played against, that was a boatload of monsters. You think about Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, Tavo Cephalosha, Kendrick Perkins. I mean, they had a lot of great pieces on that team. I think obviously the sole superstar on this team is SGA, but I think a few of these young guys are ready to kind of step in that bat or that excuse me that Robin role. This team all plays together. That seems like they have great team chemistry. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they have the talent and they're young enough to not care who they play. I think sometimes the gift and a curse of being young is, the lack of experience, but at the same time, you don't care about anything. You don't care about Jokic and his run for MVP and they won last year. You don't care about those old guys with the Clippers. You feel like you're young and you're next. So I think OKC could be a very scary team in the playoffs. And I enjoy watching them night in, night out. Yeah, I mean, he was in the lead, I think, for a little while for Rookie of the Year. I think Victor has kind of overtaken him in that category with his play of late. But yeah, Chet is very talented, and they got a slew of other guys that are really ready to step up and I think be challenged. And I think they're doing a great job. I don't think, and it's crazy to say, a team that has been back and forth at one all season. I don't necessarily think they're a contender. Um, I love Anthony Edwards. I think he has the opportunity to be the face of the league. Cat is playing good basketball. You got an anchor like Rudy Gobert. You got a lot of young talent around those guys, but there's something that I can't put my finger on with that team, whether it's chemistry or locker room issues. Their coach is always coming out and saying weird things all the time. So I'm not sure how bought in they are with him, but on paper, they have a lot of talent. They've had a tremendous year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made a run and got hot at the right time and possibly could make it to the Western Conference Finals. But I think overall, this year will be a great learning experience for this core of this team to really see what it's like to, get down and dirty and have a lot of expectations because they've been sitting at the Western Conference the entire season. I think the absolute key is health. I think they have a lot of depth. I think they have one of the best minds and best in-game adjusting coaches and Tyronn Lue. They're too deep at every position. Kawhi has played a majority of the games this year. James is acclimated now. PG's been out, but once he's healthy, he's a monster. And then they have a lot of the Terrence Manns and the Norman Powell. I mean, he's a big time player. So again, I really like the depth of this team. I'm a big fan of T. Lue, and I feel like health definitely for every team, but particularly that team is going to be key in this playoff run. I can definitely see Golden State getting hot. I can see the Lakers getting hot, and I can see Phoenix getting hot. I feel like Phoenix Achilles heel is depth. and their stars all being able to get a chance to play with each other. I feel like the Lakers, I mean, just last night, they made a nice comeback against OKC and were able to secure that victory. But I feel like they're an older team with size who's built for the playoffs. I think that the night or two off in between each game will serve obviously LeBron well and this team well, but they have the pieces. I always thought it was going to be an up and down season for them, but if they were able to get to the playoffs, I think they could do some damage. And then Golden State, you can never count out, a team like that, although I feel like their window is closing and they're looking for what's next. They can possibly get hot, but probably the only team I can see possibly winning a championship, and sounds crazy, but I can see the Lakers out of those three I just mentioned having a Cinderella season, such as they did last year, but getting hot this time and being able to get past Denver to potentially win it. But that's why I said this is a good season to be on the play-in bubble because there's so much inexperience at the top of the Western Conference. Again, I love and respect each of those teams in OKC and Minnesota. I feel like the best is yet to come from them, but these old dogs at the bottom of the Western Conference that have these savvy vets that are, kind of on their way out, but still have some gas in the tank. I think, I wouldn't bet against any of those three teams I mentioned against the top two seeds. I'd probably go with the lower seeds in both situations. I think the one seed will probably be OKC. I think they'll be the one seed. Again, they're young, but I really like them. I like their camaraderie and their chemistry. You could tell that young team is really locked in and they play for one another. So I'd probably say OKC will finish at the top of the Western Conference this season. So the Kings had a big season last year and had a lot of questions to answer this year. And it's been, it's been a kind of an up and down season for them, but it shows how tough the West is. You think about it, and we haven't, although you brought them up early, we haven't really discussed Luka and Kyrie and what they can do. So any of those teams, Sacramento, Phoenix, Golden State, Lakers, I feel like any of those bottom four teams, obviously Sacramento got a little taste of the playoffs last year, but those other teams have very experienced players and have been to the top of the mountain for the most part and won championships. So I can see, any of those teams, probably outside of Sacramento, really making a run, whether whether they solidify the sixth seed or have to come in through the play-in route. I think the team flying under the radar, to be honest with you, and it sounds crazy because they won it last year, but it's Denver. Denver's kind of stayed around that middle of the pack this year. Now they're at 3, if I'm not mistaken, or 4. But again, understanding what's ahead of them. You know what I mean? They got a taste last year. Jokic has been Jokic. I felt like they lost a few key role players in Bruce Brown and Jeff Green and some of those guys from the year before, but guys have filled in and given some of the younger guys opportunities to play, such as Peyton Watson and the kid from Kansas. So they're very interesting to me. I think they've kind of been saving their best for last. So again, as much as high as I am on the Clippers, I still think the road runs through Denver to get there. He could, but I can also see him giving it to Shea if they finish one and what he's been able to do. And you always think the NBA is entertainment. So you give an MVP to a Canadian. It's also, going to continue to grow the game north of us. So, there's 2 or 3 guys that I feel like really have a shot. But, Jokic could easily get it. I thought Embiid was on pace to duplicate what he did, unfortunately, before he got hurt. So if I'm going to pick one guy to win it, I would probably say SGA. Oh, Western Conference Finals. I'm going to go Clippers in Denver. Clippers versus Boston. And I got to see. I can't give you the who's going to win yet. I've been saying Clippers all year, but Boston's scary. Jason Tatum's my little homie, so I don't want to go out there on and jump off the cliff yet. But I think, again, 2 of the deepest, most talented rosters with 2, Mazzulla definitely learned, I think, a lot from last year. I think he got out-coached a lot in the playoffs. T. Lue is one of the best young minds in the game. So, 2 good coaches, or 1 great coach, 1 good coach, and then 2 really deep, talented teams. I think he's incredible. I think his versatility is something we haven't seen. His length is something we haven't seen for his size. His ability to, although their defense isn't very good, be the blanket of the defense with, he's averaging, 5 or 6 blocks the last handful of games. It looks like he fears no one. You hear that, he's on a strict regimen when he, 9 o'clock, no distractions. I'm reading, I'm going to bed. And I don't think people understand sometimes how important it is to land in a quality organization. They've been able to do great things with David Robinson. They've been able to do great things with Tim Duncan. Now I feel like it's Victor's turn. Obviously, they're still a very young team and need some work. But, I was just debating this on Paul Pierce's show the other day. I feel like Victor can be the alpha male. I feel like he can be a Batman on the best team, on a team that can win a championship. So it'll be interesting to see what San Antonio is able to put around him. But I love Victor and really hope that he can stay healthy and continue just to get better, because it seems like every single time you watch him, he's getting better. I think the next wave, I think there'll be probably multiple faces. I don't think anyone has necessarily stood out like LeBron has and had his dominance and had his run to the finals and solidified himself as the best player face of the league. And even when he was doing that, Steph still got some looks as the face of the league. KD got some looks as the face of the league. So I would say there's a handful of, players in this next wave, and I don't include Giannis. I think Giannis will touch that a little bit. But when we're talking young players, 25, 26 and under, 27 at the oldest, I think it's the Tatums, it's the Luka, it's the Ant-Mans, it's the SGAs, guys in that realm. And I think Victor will be in that conversation probably in the next 3 to 5 years as well. So I definitely think the NBA is in great hands. I think he needs some help. I think he's incredibly talented. I think the more he plays this game, the more he starts to figure out what he needs to do as far as picking and choosing his spots. I think he's one of the most unguardable players we've seen at his size and skill set and his pace. But I feel like each year you play in this league, you figure out a little more and how to, if it's going to be Kyrie as his wingman, how to be very successful with Kyrie. But I still feel like they need, a few pieces, whether that's a 3-and-D or more of a stretch four or more of a presence in the middle. I feel like they're one piece away, and I'd have to look at their team more to really see what they can. But I feel like Luka is smart enough. He looks like a 10-year vet out here, and I think he's only 25. So I really love Luka in this game, and again, as he continues to play this game, he's going to continue to get better. I think so. I think this is their last window. I think this is probably, unless they go and get another superstar that can literally carry the team the entire season. AD has done a better job, but you still feel like Braun kind of has to carry the team for the most part. If they can find one more star, or AD decides that he wants to, be the 1A on this team and carry this team, I think they got a really good chance this year if they can get in it and get their stuff together. But you never want to count the Lakers out because they're always doing crazy stuff, making things happen when you don't think there's anything to be had in free agency or in the summertime. Well, I don't even think Memphis would be in there if Ja was healthy this year. We all know he's must-watch TV and a very unfortunate injury. Utah's always a great system, so they can surprise people. Um, but I really want to see what San Antonio is going to continue to build around Victor. Again, he showed he's a unicorn and a very special player, and now it's their job to put, obviously Youngtown around him, but he needs another star next to him. So it'd be interesting to see what they can do as well. I don't know if next year. I think they obviously have a core of good young guys. Although they're not household names, they're still talented. They're just young. So I feel like, within either whether it be this offseason or the next offseason, I think they got to make a jump at another star that's a little bit older, not old, but older, that can kind of, get all these guys and kind of be the co-leader with Victor.